So today's reading is from an article published in the March 27th, 1950 issue of Life magazine. Why the Choir Was Late by George H. Edel. It happened on the evening of March 1st in the town of Beatrice, Nebraska. In the afternoon, the Reverend Walter Klempel had gone to the Westside Baptist Church to get things ready for choir practice. He lit the furnace. Most of the singers were in the habit of arriving around 7:15, and it was chilly in the church. And then he went home to dinner. But at 7:10, when it was time for him to go back to the church with his wife and daughter, Marilyn Ruth, it turned out that Marilyn Ruth's dress was soiled. So Mrs. Klempel ironed another. Thus, they were still at home when it happened. LaDonna Vandegrift, a high school sophomore, was having trouble with a geometry problem. She knew practice began promptly and always came early, but she stayed to finish the problem. Royanna Estes was ready, but the car wouldn't start, so she and her sister Sadie called LaDonna Vandegrift and asked her to pick them up. But LaDonna was the girl with the geometry problem, and the Estes sisters had to wait. Mrs. Leonard Schuster would ordinarily have arrived at 7:20 with her small daughter Susan. But on this particular evening, she had to go to her mother's house to help her get ready for a missionary meeting. Herbert Kipf, lathe operator, would have been ahead of time, but had put off an important letter. I can't think why, he said. He lingered over it and was late. It was a cold evening. Stenographer Joyce Black, feeling just plain lazy, stayed in her warm house until the last possible moment. She was almost ready to leave. Because his wife was away, machinist Harvey All was taking care of his two boys. He was going to take them to practice with him, but somehow he got wound up talking. When he looked at his watch, he saw he was already late. Marilyn Paul, the pianist, had planned to arrive half an hour early. However, she fell asleep after dinner, and when her mother awakened her at 7:15, she had time only to tidy up and start out. Mrs. F.E. Paul, choir director and mother of the pianist, was late simply because her daughter was. She had tried unsuccessfully to awaken the girl earlier. High school girls Lucille Jones and Dorothy Wood are neighbors and customarily go to practice together. Lucille was listening to a 7 to 7:30 radio program and broke her habit of promptness because she wanted to hear the end. Dorothy waited for her. At 7:25, with a roar heard in almost every corner of Beatrice, the Westside Baptist Church blew up. The walls fell outward. The heavy wooden roof crashed straight down like weight in a deadfall. But because of such matters as a soiled dress, a catnap, an unfinished letter, a geometry problem, and a stalled car, all the members of the choir were late, something which had never happened before. Firemen thought the explosion had been caused by natural gas, which may have leaked into the church from a broken pipe outside and been ignited by the fire in the furnace. The Beatrice choir members had no particular theory about the fire's cause, but each of them began to reflect on the heretofore inconsequential details of his life, wondering at exactly what point is it that one can say, this is an act of God. Good morning. That was Why the Choir Was Late by George H. Edel, originally printed in Life magazine in March of 1950. On Wednesday, March 1st, 1950, the Westside Baptist Church in Beatrice, Nebraska was destroyed by an explosion. Choir practice always began at 7:20 p.m., and all 15 of the members were usually prompt and ready to start singing at 7:25 p.m. The church exploded at 7:25 p.m. And on this Wednesday, not one of the 15 members of the choir were there. A miracle. What is a miracle? The word miracle comes from the Latin miraculum, meaning wonder, marvel, amazing act, event, object, or sight. The English definition of a miracle is a surprising and welcome event that is not explicable by natural or scientific laws and is therefore considered to be the work of a divine agency. It may sound like a clear definition, but I question the veracity of it. What I have been taught is that miracles are not inexplicable by natural or scientific laws. In the 18th century, electric lights would have been viewed as miraculous, much less what we're doing right now on Zoom, right? Yet less than a century later, that miracle had been proven scientifically to be possible. Our definition of miracles also states that a miracle is considered to be the work of a divine agency, and that divine agency is not actually outside of you. It's instead a part of you, and you are that divine agency. One of the characters in the book Illusions by Richard Bach, one of my favorites, states, if you learn what this world is, how it works, you automatically start getting miracles. But of course, nothing is miraculous. Learn what the magician knows, and it's not magic anymore. You already know this stuff. You're just not aware that you know it yet. When this quote says nothing is miraculous, it's not saying that we shouldn't believe in miracles. It's telling us that miracles are not outside of natural law and scientific principles. Miracles are very much a part of natural law. They're a natural extension of discovering who we are and truly believing in ourselves. So today, let's try to define what a miracle really is. It's something that happens as a result of our divine connection. When we realize that who we are is not just an individual. When the wonderful, marvelous, amazing act, object, or sight that we're striving for does not involve just what we personally desire. When we allow ourselves to embrace our true inner lightness, that's what a miracle is. In Matthew 17:20, the apostles asked Jesus why they themselves were unable to perform a miracle. You know what he said to them? One of my favorite quotes, because you have so little faith. Truly I say to you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. Jesus was telling us that even with the smallest amount of faith in ourselves, we can perform miracles. And if we can move mountains with faith the size of a mustard seed, can you imagine what we can do with faith the size of a lemon or a grapefruit or even the size of a watermelon? The members of the Westside Baptist Church Choir did not have some supernatural hand of God come down and stop them in their tracks on the night of Wednesday, March 1st, 1950. Instead, they were tuned in enough to their own divinity that they allowed themselves to stay out of danger. They listened to what the universe was telling them. They didn't fight against their intuition. That's what a miracle is. Our intuition itself is a miracle. How wonderful is it when we feel something intuitively, listen to it, and it turns out to be right? Doesn't that feel like a miracle to you? I know it does to me. In 1950, stenographer Joan Black listened to her intuition when she decided to stay in her warm house longer than usual and ended up late for choir practice. She attributed it to being lazy. I think she listened to what her intuition was telling her. It didn't come in the form of a warning or a feeling of dread. Instead, it came in the form of a warm, peaceful, relaxed feeling and a nudge to take her time. But it's still intuition. Intuition is our divine connection. If we think of God or the universe or whatever source you believe in as a vast puzzle that's not complete without each of us, and ourselves as a puzzle piece that fits into a specific spot in that great cosmic puzzle, then in order to snap ourselves into the correct spot, we must recognize our own divinity. To realize that together we're a whole and all. We are God. That is what the miracle is. During meditation, Spirit said to me once that we must go without to love within. I'm still pulling all the onion layers apart on that one. But if I applied it to today's homily, it means that we must see the big picture of who we truly are before we can learn to love and believe in ourselves. When you begin to fathom the completed puzzle without, then you understand that your individual fears and insecurities are an illusion, and they're only weighing you down, lowering your vibration. When my life stops being about me as a single, struggling, fearful human, and instead I realize my place in the all, then I'm ready to clear my blocks of worry, guilt, and fear. That's when my vibration raises, and by embracing the lightness that we all are, I learn to love within. And once you do this, you become a viable piece of the universal jigsaw puzzle. By plugging yourself into that puzzle, you find that you're tuned into the vibration of the universe, and you can clearly hear and trust your own higher self. You can hear the guidance that's been trying to get your attention all along. That's what a miracle is. Quote from A Course in Miracles says that miracles are teaching devices for demonstrating it is as blessed to give as to receive. They simultaneously increase the strength of the giver and supply strength to the receiver. According to this quote, a miracle is about wanting for others, about removing the self and approaching life from the perspective of others. That's why Jesus in his human form was able to perform so many miracles. He wasn't performing miracles for himself. He was asking for miracles so that others might realize their own divine power. He was using them as a teaching device, and each miracle increased his strength as more and more souls saw and believed in him. That is what a miracle is. I got a story for you. Today, during a really tight financial period, I'd gone shopping at Walmart. I decided I was going to shop for everything I needed, finances be darned, and I was going to put the whole shopping spree on a credit card. I had an overflowing cart of candles and picture frames, light bulbs, cat food, cat litter, slippers, food, paper towels, notebooks. You get the idea. While I was waiting in line to check out, my attention was directed to the checkout line next to me. There was a man checking out with just a few small bags, and his credit card was declined. He was getting ready to leave without his bags. I caught the attention of the clerk and asked how much his bill was. She said it was $27. I just laughed and said, "You see this cart? I'm probably going to end up melting my credit card anyway. I don't think another $27 will hurt. So just put it on my card." The man was so touched that he just stood there for a few minutes staring at me. It was finally my turn to check out, and my bill came to $300. I was almost in tears because I didn't often spend that kind of money. I still don't. And I was thinking about that man and his $27, and I just felt so extravagant and so I just felt bad. But I kept hearing Spirit telling me not to worry, not to worry. When I got out to the car, I loaded up all the bags and picked up my phone. And there was an email from Reverend Diana telling me that I was being reimbursed for something. And the amount I was getting back, $300. I drove the whole way home just crying my eyes out at the beauty of the universe. Miracles are teaching devices for demonstrating that it is as blessed to give as to receive. Manifesting miracles is not about what we can get without any effort. It's about realizing that what we put out into the universe will always come back to us magnified. That's what a miracle is. Have we defined miracles? Well, maybe not. Maybe my idea of a miracle isn't exactly what your idea of a miracle is. Maybe what we see as miraculous in our lives needs to be viewed through our own lens. But what I can tell you is this: we're human, we struggle, we feel heavy and weighed down by life sometimes. But that which we struggle against, that which weighs us down and separates us from our true divinity, it's only in our mind. It doesn't truly exist. Let us realize who we are. Let us meet our light, and all will be miracles always. I'm going to leave you with a definition of miracles that will hopefully start you in the direction of lightness. It's a Lemony Snicket quote from the Carnivorous Carnival. Miracles are like meatballs because nobody can exactly agree on what they're made of, where they come from, or how often they should appear. Some people say that a sunrise is a miracle because it is somewhat mysterious and often very beautiful. But other people say it's simply a fact of life because it happens every day and far too early in the morning. Some people say that a telephone is a miracle because it sometimes seems wondrous that you can talk with somebody who is thousands of miles away. And other people say it is merely a manufactured device fashioned out of metal parts, electronic circuitry, and wires that are very easily cut. And some people say that sneaking out of a hotel is a miracle, particularly if the lobby is swarming with policemen. And other people say it's simply a fact of life because it happens every day and far too early in the morning. So you might think that there are so many miracles in the world that you can scarcely count them, or that there are so few that they are scarcely worth mentioning, depending on whether you spend your mornings gazing at a beautiful sunset or lowering yourself into a back alley with a rope made of matching towels. Thank you.